Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I am joined by very special guest, Mr. David Harrison. My two co-hosts, Michael Reed and Hull, are not here just yet, but they will be here momentarily. But the title of tonight's episode is The Vibes, and the Burgundy Zone is a part of the Frederick Podcast Network. You can find out more by going to www.listenfrederick.com. So we thought we'd bring in David Harrison on from Locked On Commanders to bring in the vibes of the Commanders offseason. And it being the middle of summer, we thought there's no one better that we really want to get their opinion on. So, David, thank you so much for blessing us this evening. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. I appreciate the invite as always.
Yes, sir. And the first thing I want to get your opinion on, a lot has happened past week or so that we'll need to get into. But Joe Theismann had a comment saying that he thinks that Jayden Daniels shouldn't start or play at all in the preseason. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I see where Joe is coming from. And I'm going to be honest, I was actually the biggest reason I was surprised that Joe Theismann would say that is because he comes from the old school, right? And like the old school mentality is typically you want every rep, you always want the ball in your hands, you never want to come off the field, all that kind of stuff. And that's, the old school mentality is, and I don't remember the number of reps. I actually said this on my show too. I think it's like 1,000 reps or 2,000 reps or however many reps it is of doing something before you can be called an expert. That's kind of like the old school way of really looking at training and practice and all that stuff is you just need more and more and more and more reps. Whereas the more modern kind of shift to training and all these things is it's not necessarily the amount of training you're doing. It's the quality of the training that you're getting. And my kind of overall stance on it is this. I see where Joe Theismann's coming from. I don't think he's going to sit the entire preseason. I do think he's going to get reps in the preseason. I just kind of think that's the way that the NFL operates, and I expect Dan Quinn to kind of make that decision. Again, that's just my opinion. I don't know that for a fact. I'm sure next week Dan is going to get asked about it because it's definitely making its rounds that Joe said what he said. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if he didn't take any preseason reps until the final preseason game. And if it's me, I'm probably only putting him in there for like a series because he's at those joint practice against the New York Jets. He's at the joint practice against the Miami Dolphins. And every single coach I've ever talked to about joint practices has always said that the great thing about joint practices is you're going to see more in those practices or that practice day than you're going to see in the game because everything that happens in the game is on film. Right. So every opponent, even though you're not playing, like the Commanders don't play the Dolphins, Jets, or Patriots, but everything you do in that game is on film. So everybody that plays those teams, now they get to scout those looks. Everything at the joint practice, however, is not on public film. It's not out there publicly distributed. So they can do things and show things to the Washington Commanders, and they don't got to worry about it because the only way they're playing the Washington Commanders is in the Super Bowl. And if that's the problem you got to worry about next February, you'll worry about that problem next February. So Jayden's going to get a lot of really good looks against the Jets and the Dolphins in those practices. So maybe you don't need to put him out there for the preseason game. The Patriots are a different story, though. And really, it's just that one last opportunity to get out there. I mean, get into Commanders Field or whatever it might be called by then in front of the home crowd, get that energy just kind of out of the way so that when week one comes, I mean, week one's in Tampa, but either way, the first time you run onto the field to lead your team in a competition, it's not the first time you've done it.
Yeah, and, Joe Theismann is speaking music to my ears, something I've been saying about preseason for a long time now. But latest news, Washington took everyone by storm earlier this week by showcasing their new gold pants that they have releasing. Yeah. Me personally, I did not like the gold pants as of late. I was actually happy that Bruce Allen was kicked out of the door along with those gold pants, just specifically because we played so poorly in them in the common recent NFL era. But, I'm not going to lie to you, with the new uniform combo, I actually like it, David. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think, the part that I applaud is any type of this organization trying to reach back to its history, no matter how far back the history they're trying to reach to. It's just a positive sign, right? Because at the end of the day, the fans who are still uber upset about what has kind of transpired and going to the Washington football team and then the Washington Commanders, that's really kind of, it's an olive branch, right? It's like, hey, we get it. We understand. We know exactly what you're going through. I mean, Josh Harris himself is a fan of the franchise going back, to RFK days. So he gets it. And it's just his way of kind of showing that he gets it as well. And what it's going to lead to is up for debate and up for conversation. But I just think it's a nice way of giving the fans a little bit of what they want. Like they said in one of the social media graphics is we heard you, you know what I mean? And that's really the best thing that an organization can do is kind of say, listen, we hear you. We're doing what we can as much as we can to help you and to be a part of it. And hopefully, you know, it may not be everything that every fan wants, but hopefully it's enough that your NFL organization, who quite honestly doesn't actually have to pay attention to what you have to say. Like, unfortunately, that's just kind of how king the NFL has become is they can actually ignore you and still make money hand over fist. But the fact they are, hopefully that's a worthwhile measure.
Yeah, and we call it the Gold Gang when they do wear those pants. And now we're joined by Michael Reed. Hall said that he's having a little bit of technical issues with his computer. But Reed, do you have a question for David?
Maybe Hall should stop looking up so many, terrible low security websites, some high risk websites, and that'll fix that. But David, how you doing, man?
No, I'm doing great.
Good. What position battles are you looking for? I mean, we got training camp coming up. Maybe we'll specify that. What under the radar position battles are you looking for?
Under the radar position battle, I would say would be the second layer of off-ball linebackers, right? Because I think that we're all talking secondary, we're all talking offensive line, we're all talking maybe third wide receiver, right? But I think when you look behind Bobby Wagner and you look behind Frankie Louvu, I mean, obviously the expectation is going to be that those guys get, the lion's share of the reps. And I kind of went through on my show last week and kind of talked about the amount of 3 safety looks that the Dallas Cowboys defense actually pulled out. I'm not saying it's like an every snap thing, but there's a fairly good amount of 3 safety looks. There's actually a fairly good amount of 7 DB looks that the Cowboys defense rolled out last year, which is interesting. I don't know if I'd recommend it all that much, but it's at least interesting. So the linebackers, although the team is obviously invested in the linebacker position more this year than we've seen in years past, most recently, I don't know that necessarily those linebackers are going to be kind of like the focal point or the centerpiece to the defense, but I still think that there's a place where Bobby Wagner, because he is a little bit older, still very capable, but obviously still still older. Frankie Louvu runs at 110 miles an hour every single snap. He's going to need a breather now and then, especially on some long runs or some long drives. And Jamin Davis, how he's getting cross-trained to be on the edge, I don't know how much of a role as an off-ball linebacker is going to be. So Jordan McGee, Anthony Pittman specifically kind of have this opportunity to really carve out a role for themselves. And if they can show that they can contribute in special teams, which the new kickoff rules are going to kind of shift those things. And I think linebackers are really going to need to show they still have that special teams value in a lot of those avenues. And if these two guys can show they have a little bit of that range, they have that ability, that if we need you to spell one of our guys, knock on wood, that's not because of injury, but whether it's for a breather or just a really long drive, whatever it is, that they can do that. I think those two guys have kind of the opportunity to maybe steal an active roster spot where a lot of people don't necessarily think that there will be one.
My man.
Yeah, what a thing too for Jordan McGee. I mean, talk about a mid-round pick who he's aggressive, he flies through the ball. To be able to learn from Bobby Wagner, like he's got to take that and roll with it, because this is not everybody gets that opportunity,
No, and it's a fantastic one. And not only that, having Ken Norton coach you as well. I mean, be a sponge, so to speak. David, I saw that Sports Illustrated had posted an article saying, with Joe Gibbs, where does he rank in your top head coaches in history in the NFL? He is I think he is the only one to win a Super Bowl with 3 separate quarterbacks.
Yeah, he is the only one to win with 3 separate quarterbacks. We got to give a hat tip to 33rd team. That was actually a 33rd team. So they came through and they ranked their top 10 head coaches of all time. And they put Joe Gibbs at number 8. And I'll be honest, like when I first saw that 33rd team post, I was kind of like 8. Like I just kind of control F, right. You know what I mean? Like I searched Joe Gibbs and I was like 8. Like, are you serious? And I mean, so some of the teams or some of the guys ahead of him, Tom Landry is ahead of him. The Cowboys' great coach, Chuck Knowles ahead of him, George Halas, Don Shula, Bill Walsh, Vince Lombardi, and Bill Belichick. And like, honestly, like as much as I love Joe Gibbs, like he might be number 8, guys. Like honestly, if I have to choose, I might put him 7 ahead of Tom Landry. The reason I think you give Tom Landry the nod is because he did it for so much longer, right? He did it for nearly 30 years. And I think a lot of these guys, that's kind of what you really have is like the longevity. Chuck Noll, you know what I mean? Doing it 1969 all the way until Bill Cowher. Like, I don't remember what year that was, but there's, when you look at like the accomplishments of some of these other coaches, you actually kind of walk away and you're like, yeah, all right. You know what I mean? But that's like being number 8 in that list. Like,
it's not bad. Right.
You know what I mean? Like if you're number 8 in that list, that's pretty good for a lifetime. And he's not even done with what he's been doing in his life. So, I don't necessarily look at it as a insult by any means, but I will admit when I first saw the Joes at 8, I kind of flinched. I was like, nah, I mean, really? But then, I mean, like I said, you look at this list and it's kind of hard to debate which one you would remove.
Right. The thing about that list is you can make the argument for Joe Gibbs against
Yeah.
a lot of those guys. Like, I mean, the
Oh yeah.
three separate quarterbacks thing, like that just goes to show that like it was Joe Gibbs. It wasn't Bill Belichick with one guy his whole time and then who kind of faltered without him. But you're right. I mean, that's a pretty good list to be 8 guys, 7 guys back,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and,
mean, you mentioned those three quarterbacks. I think, like, honestly, if you were going to have a thread to pull to get him above any of these guys, like, if you're going like fan base to fan base, like, let's bring the Cowboys guys in, let's go toe to toe. Honestly, I mean, the big one, honestly, is Doug Williams, right? Doug Williams is a guy that, when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers refused to do what they should have done and paid him, he ended up in the USFL, right? It's not like he went to another NFL team; he went to the
right.
USFL. And Doug even says himself, like, when the USFL folded in 1986, the only person that called him was Joe Gibbs. Like, it's not like people were knocking down Doug Williams' door. The only person that called him was Joe Gibbs to come to Washington. He comes to Washington. It's not even that season; it's the next season. They make magic together. So, and then you go back to the draft, and Doug Williams, who's the only coach that came and scouted Doug Williams pre-draft, Joe Gibbs, right? So, like, that ability to see what other people didn't see as well. As much as you want to measure wins, losses, rings, all that stuff. I mean, that's got to be something as well.
Absolutely. And look, I would love to put him up there more, just because of three quarterbacks. I think that's something that nobody else has been able to do, and it's hard to do that. And I think it's evident by now. We are joined by our other co host, Mr. Michael Hall. What's up, Hall? Do you have a question for David?
Yeah, sure. So the rookies are reporting this week on the 18th. I think that's Thursday, or sometime this week. I think it's Thursday. But what are you expecting to see from the rookies out there before the veterans get there? Like, what are you going to be out there kind of trying to look for and maybe get a first look at?
So we won't get to see the rookies before the veterans appear. Our first time
Okay.
out there, the veterans will report before we get to go out there. We won't see them until they're all back together again. But a lot of what they're going to do with the rookies is not going to be like so much like training camp environment. Well, I guess every coach has a little bit different, right? But generally speaking, I should put it that way. What they're going to do with the rookies before the veterans get in there is certainly some on-field stuff, but a lot of classroom stuff, and a lot of it is just information retention. Let's find out how much you kept and how much you were able to retain from mini camp OTAs, because they do throw a lot at them. And I think that this coaching staff, in my opinion, right, and everybody's got a different way that they would do things, but in my opinion, this coaching staff has been a little bit more judicious in how much they're throwing at all these players, the new veterans included, and guys who've never been in these systems before as well. And they're just kind of making sure that they're doing it in a very deliberate fashion. We don't want to throw every single thing at you all at one time and say, go remember every single thing. We want to kind of take it in notches and make sure that we're laying the appropriate foundation to build everything off of. And I think that doing that, hopefully what they're going to find when the rookies come back, is that these players have retained a lot more than maybe your usual rookie would retain from having a break. And, when we've seen some footage, right? Like, Jayden has been out there working. Like, certainly I'm sure he's been having his fun and going to his award shows and dressing up and taking his mom out on a great appreciative night out. But he's also been working. And I mean, if you don't believe me, Brandon Ayuk has evidence that he's been working, right? But these guys have all been working. They've all been out there doing their things. I mean, like Luke McCaffrey, like, you don't come from the McCaffrey family and get 40 days off and waste it. You know what I mean? You put it to good use and all those things. So I'm sure that this group, just getting to know this rookie class a little bit, just before the break, I have no doubt that all these rookies are going to come back ready to fire off and welcome the veterans back so they can catch the veterans up with what they've been doing.
My man. And now to wrap this up, David, I only have a couple more questions for you, sir. But I saw earlier this week Frankie Louvu had posted videos of him training with boxing. So that makes me bring up the question of choose your fighter. Let's just say the game of football was brought into just being in the octagon, MMA style. What one player from Washington would you pick to be the fighter for us?
That's funny because it's Frankie. I mean, the thing about Frankie, right, is like the dude runs with his hair on fire. And I mean, the boxing thing is beautiful because the footwork and the one-on-one combatant stuff and the reflexes, I mean, boxing is one of those sports, like, it's funny because my son is actually in boxing right now. So, like, you're like 2 feet away from a dude, right? And he's throwing a fist at you as fast and as hard as he can. And you got to react to it in the best way that you can. I mean, there's no moment to flinch. There's not a moment to blink, right? And when you talk about being on an NFL field and how quickly, you could be running through the A-gap's wide open. Then next thing you know, there's a 300-pound MFer there ready to knock your block off, right? You got to be able to react to that in real time. And Frankie is kind of this dude, like, talking to Frankie Louvu, man. Like, if you've seen those movies where there's like an assassin or a hitman or something, but he's like the most like well-behaved, well-mannered, like the type of dude that'll like peel your cap and shake your hand while he's doing it. Like, that's Frankie Louvu, man. Like, Frankie Louvu will destroy you and then pray over you. Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of scary. Like, it's kind of a scary way,
That's
like the way
Samoan
that
culture,
dude just
man.
is so
Yeah.
violent on the field. Then he comes off the field and
Very
it's like, be blessed
respectful.
today, man. Like
Yeah.
have a blessed day, and just but the vibe just works, man. So I think Frankie Louvu, I just even from just the emotional. Plus, he'd do it barefoot. Like, you know what I mean? He'd go out there barefoot and just kick his butt all over. So,
My man.
I go Frankie.
I like that
That's a
one.
good
'Cause
one.
the
Yeah.
boxing video did change my mind a little bit. Because my pick would be for the Octagon would be Johnny Newton. Which, speaking of, is there an update on Johnny Newton on his timetable when he could possibly return? Has there been any inkling into that?
No, there's not, and Dan Quinn is doing a really good job of not putting any pressure on giving a timeline or putting Johnny Newton on a timeline. Again, at the end of the day, the whole focus is for Johnny Newton to have a long, successful career, for the Washington Commanders, and that doesn't necessarily means he needs to have a long, successful 2024 training camp. You know what I mean? Personally, like, just kind of going off, because there are so many similarities to the first foot injury that he had and the first foot surgery that he had. Like, you kind of look at it and say, okay, well, if it happened this many days ago, I kind of look like second week of camp that maybe he could start getting back into it. But again, it's going to depend on how this different injury and this different surgery progresses and progressed. And also just how quickly they want to kind of rush him out there. And, I think that part of the process, also how much confidence they have in, Fedarian Mathis, John Ridgeway, and these other guys to go out there and fill that role that maybe they look for Johnny Newton to fill. Because if they feel comfortable with the guys that are behind him, then they can take more time bringing him in.
My man, last question I have for you. If you could take one player from Washington's 3 Super Bowl teams and add them onto the current team, which player would you choose?
I'm going to be selfish. I'm going to say Art Monk. Like,
Okay.
There's a lot of talent, right? And I actually just wrote something about John Riggins. So, like, you know what I mean? But, like, Art Monk, so growing up, I think we've kind of talked about this. Like, I've never had, like, a favorite NFL team. I've just been a football fan, right? So, like, every great team, like, I've told Ken Norton, on a kind of a side conversation, kind of pulling the curtain back a little bit. We're not supposed to do it, but I just kind of did anyways. Like, man, like, I grew up watching football mainly in the 90s, so I'm a big Ken Norton Jr. fan, and I'm a fan of his from his Niners days. I'm a fan of his from his Cowboys days. Like, it didn't really matter what uniform he was watching. Art Monk he was one of those guys. Like, just being a general football fan, he was one of those receivers that really caught my eye. And I remember as a kid just really idolizing Art Monk. And the first time I got to meet him, I got to be honest with you guys. First time I got to meet him, first of all, we walked down to the practice field, and I didn't even know he was there. Like, I didn't know any of those. Like, him, Gary Clark, like a bunch of the alumni were there. I didn't know they were going to be there. I either missed the memo or just wasn't paying attention. I don't know. But we go down to the practice field. We're literally just standing there watching practice. And I look over, and I'm like, at first I saw Gary Clark. I was like, okay, back to practice. And I look back over, I'm like, pretty sure that's Art Monk. Back to practice. And I'm just thinking of, like, calling my father and being like, I just stood on the practice field with Art Monk. And sorry, I had to actually ask one of the other media members, was like, let me make sure I'm not wrong here. And yeah, they confirmed it. So then we all kind of went over there and just getting to shake his hand, man. It was one of those moments where childhood fandom meets, adult professionalism. And it was just a cool moment. So for selfish reasons, I'd always have to say Art Monk.
My man, absolutely love it. Well, David, I can't thank you enough for joining us, brother. Really looking forward to this preseason and getting to see these rookies and veterans in the camp and seeing how this team really shapes out. But before we get out of here, would you like to plug your social media handle and your show, just in case anybody watching hasn't followed you yet and would like to, sir?
Yeah, sure. I appreciate you guys for the invite, of course. It's always a great time joining you. On Twitter, DHarrison82 is my Twitter handle. I'm going to be honest, I don't tweet a lot, but if you want to follow me there, by all means, go for it. And then, yeah, Locked On Commanders 5 days a week. Been 5 days a week all through the dead period, which has not been easy to do, but it's been fun to do. Training camp is next week. I love saying that training camp is next week, because training camp is next week, and it's amazing to be able to say that. And, yeah, CommanderGameDay.com, Sports Illustrated. I'll be writing over there as well.
My man. David, have a great Sunday evening. Thank you for your time, sir. Enjoy the week.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Thank you, brother.
Appreciate it.
All right, everybody. We just spoke with the man, Mr. David Harrison. Always appreciate him being able to come on here and talk to us. Not really sure what happened to Reed. We'll be able to figure that out here soon. But, Hall, how you doing, man?
It's all right. It's just doing a couple things around the house, and then for some reason my computer decided to sign me out, and I, of course, don't remember any of my passwords, so it took me a while to get on, but, I'm here.
You didn't have to actually expose why it took you so long, because I just told people you had technical difficulties. But, yes, Hall and his passwords, that's... Like, good luck to anybody trying to hack into Hall's computer. He doesn't even know what his passwords are.
I was going to say, I can't even hack into my own stuff, so.
Dude, so I know last week we kind of, like, did a 4th of July thing, and what we've seen on Twitter the past week. So let's kind of talk about the gold pants a little bit and them being brought in before we were brought in by fan questions. What did you think of the move?
Yeah, I liked it. I mean, obviously, this ownership group is like from the area. They're fans. They grew up fans of the team. They know the history of the team, and
Infatuated, yes.
obviously, everyone's been talking about the name change, and they've been trying to wanting to tie the past in with the future and whatnot, and with the current and the future. And I do think that bringing back the gold pants is like a nod to the past and kind of gives it that old school Redskins kind of look that I know a lot of people that have been missing, and people have been wanting like to go back to the old jerseys and the old uniforms or something similar to that. And I feel like this is kind of the ownership group saying, "Hey, fan base, like work with us a little bit. I know you want X, Y, Z, but like here's X for right now." Like so. Yeah, I liked it, and hopefully they'll keep making some tweaks and a couple things during the preseason throughout the season, and yeah, we'll bring back some of the old school, some of the history, some of the past into the current, into the future.
Yeah, I wish I could have had a crystal ball to be able to say this was going to happen. I just honestly it kind of hit us by the wayside, and I guess that's what fueled the name change thing up again, which, obviously I cannot stand at the end of the day, but I'm glad that everyone is happy. I know the next thing now is about stripes, putting stripes on the side of the pants or whatever have you. I really don't care, man. Just let's go play football. You know what I mean? Reed, what was your reaction to the gold pants? I know you love pants, in particular. When David Harrison was talking about having guys right up on you, I know that's right up your alley here. So, wanted to get your opinion on it.
Actually, I don't like them, Kyle. So I don't wear them. No, dude, I loved it. The jerseys look so much better. They flow so much better because of all the gold on them. Like it looks so much
With
more
the
clean.
burgundy jersey, dude, I'm not
Yeah,
gonna lie, it looks clean.
It looks very clean with the burgundy jersey. I haven't seen him with the white jersey yet. I don't know if I want to because that's a
There is
little.
no gold in the white jersey, really.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Except for like a Nike check mark on the side. Like that's
Yeah.
like unless you add more gold, it's gonna look a little weird to me.
And
But
then with
I
the
think everybody
black
talking about the
jersey,
helmets. Don't mess with the helmets. The helmets
and
are
then with the
perfect.
black
Keep 'em.
jersey, it does that would because I've heard like how the Colonel has said before that it kind of looks like the Steelers
It would look
uniforms.
too much like the Steelers with the
It
black.
would a lot look like the Steelers uniform. Obviously, gold being different from yellow, of course. But I'm just saying it would look very
Barely.
similar.
Yeah.
But
Barely
speaking
a
of the
stitch.
Colonel, he asked this question, boys. Reed, he says, lately Austin Eckler has been taking heat, especially from former New York Giant Tiki Barber, regarding his work ethic. Specifically, that Eckler doesn't want to be in the featured back and came to Washington for less carries, not more. Is this deserved criticism or clickbait during a slow news cycle?
I think it's not criticism at all. It should be about knowing your role and knowing where you can help a team and fitting. So Tiki Barber can shut up just because you had to
Shut
work.
your mouth, jabroni.
Yeah,
Oh,
bar
no.
kind of sick, but still.
Yeah, it looks like my internet's being all choppy right now. I would agree. I do think that there is some sort of clickbait going on here with Tiki Barber in particular because when you look at the whole sphere of the NFL right now, especially with running backs, like there's a plethora of running backs that aren't getting 1,000 yards rushing every year. I think Christian McCaffrey is the only one who surpassed 1,000 yards rushing. So like it just goes to show that this has been the league trend for a while now. And no disrespect to Tiki Barber, he's done a heck of a whole lot, but it looks like he
Fumbled a lot too.
He fumbled this opinion. He fumbled this opinion because that's not like with Austin Eckler in this sense. What does that have to do with work ethic? You're essentially what you're saying is that he doesn't want that responsibility, right? But that doesn't mean that he's not working hard. You know what I mean? The fact of the matter is he wants to prolong his career. And Hall, how many times have we talked about the average running back career in the NFL is what, like 3.5 years? Something of the sort. He's trying to prolong his career,
yeah.
prolong his actual productivity. That's not a bad thing, Tiki. And I will say this, obviously Tiki has an issue with Austin Eckler throwing the Giants under the bus by saying, I didn't want to go to the Giants to get 300 plus carries and to be the body bag for Daniel Jones, which I don't blame him. Why would you want to go up
Yeah,
there and have to deal with that, right? So, like, I understand why he came here. It's just Tiki's doing a clickbait thing, being defensive of New York, which all respect to him for doing that. I'd probably do the same thing. But the fact of the matter is, New York isn't, they're very sensitive. They're not used to being the butt of the joke. They're not used to being the ones that get shunned. We are. But the fact that somebody said, no, I don't want to go there, actually would rather go to Washington to fit myself into what they have,
It
it's a
hurt.
fresh breath of air, you know?
It hurt. It hurt their egos for sure that
Definitely.
they got
Suck on
spurned.
that, Mara.
Yeah, and not just
Um,
for like a Dan Snyder checkbook move either. It was like they just got spurned because of the way that their team's built and
Yep.
their
right. And
quarterback.
plus, if you look at it, like Austin Eckler's never even had 300 carries in his entire career in a season. Like obviously he's had 300 touches because he gets receptions as well, but he's never carried the ball 300 times. I think the most he's carried is like 205 or some low number in the 200s. So like that'd be an extra 100 plus carries on his body at this age in his career, in this part of his career. And if you really look at the beginning of his career when he was working with Melvin Gordon as kind of like that third down, change of pace back, and the receiving back out the backfield, he was hella productive, and that's how he kind of became Austin Eckler that everyone knows and loves outside of like fantasy football and whatnot. But that's how he became one of the top backs in the league. It was
Yeah.
because of he was in that shared role. And to make it even better, Anthony Lynn was a guy coaching him, and he's now a running backs coach. So I feel like Anthony Lynn knows how to get the best out of him. He knows what Austin Eckler can and cannot take as far as like punishment on his body and production and whatnot. So I think it's a perfect fit. And like you said, I feel like Tiki Barber is just salty because he dissed the Giants and kind of like gave him the Heisman on the way to coming down to 95 to Washington.
Well, and also, look, he also brought up L.A., and L.A. we know is changing into that sort of running style as well, that they want to give up.
Saquon Barkley didn't even want to be there and be the body bag for Daniel Jones. So why would Austin Eckler do that?
Right.
That phone call was so funny too, where Saquon's like, "I already told you." And he's like, "Okay, well, we'll talk to you soon." And he's like, Saquon was so over
I'm
it.
being recorded right now.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have said
I
that.
already
Why
told
are you being
you.
so mean?
Yeah.
So funny.
He
Now,
was
the
like,
next
"Can you take
question,
out the trash?"
next
Joe
question from the
Sean.
Colonel Hall.
Yes, Daddy.
How comfortable are you guys with our kicking game? Ramiz Ahmed was undrafted in 2019 and has bounced around between the Bears, Packers, and the Pittsburgh Maulers of the USFL. Do you anticipate us bringing a couple more kickers aboard for competition?
Yes, I do think there'll be some kickers in competition. I think there'll be in the other 31 teams competitions. They're going to cut a kicker or whatever it may be. I think Washington will look at some of those guys as well. So I don't think that I don't even remember the dude's name he just said. Whoever he is
Our kicker?
that they brought in, they signed in, brought him in for the camp. I think that it'll be a competition, and more than likely, I give it like a 51% chance there's a different kicker come week one.
Yeah, and I'll try to find out. So it's so funny. On Friday, I was on my way back from work from Pennsylvania, and my uncle calls me. Who's obviously my boss back in Rockville. You know, I moved to Delaware. I transferred to the Delaware office, and he goes, "We're having a conversation about something else." He goes, "All right, I'll bet you $100 that I can get you to come back and work in Maryland for a day." And I was like, "No chance whatsoever." He's like, "You sure about that?" And I was like, wait a minute." I was like, "Where is it at?" He's like, "That's not part of the bet. Do you place the bet that I could guarantee that you will come back and work for a day?" I was like, "Is it at the park?" And he was like, "Well, it says here the draft room and the president's office, 21600 Gibbs Drive." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm cool with that. Yeah."
It's
So,
funny about that because we literally all that material just came in the other day, and I was like looking it up and like receiving it, and I was like, oh snap, this is for like the Commanders, John. I was like, yo,
yeah, so he's supposed to line that up. So I'm supposed to be going there and do a little bit of work, which I'm really excited about. It's going to be a long drive, but it's freaking worth it, man. So I'm really excited about coming back just for the day to be able to work with Gene and hopefully be able to go in there
Are
and
you are you gonna plant microphones and cameras in there so you can get a look at Adam Peters from all angles? Are you gonna say
if I was smart enough, probably, but they're not in the draft room in August, man.
it's okay? Just save it for next year.
Yeah, but honestly, Colonel, I'll say this: I do think that the competition will be brought in. I don't think that they're going to be sitting with like they've already brought in some other people to compete, and I just think that they're probably waiting for other things to fall down the line, maybe to make a move here or there. But I mean, all respect to Ramiz Ahmed, he's our kicker for now, and that's one question I actually have been writing down each week that I just haven't been able to ask the guests is Like, will the kicking game be an issue for Washington this season? Because I feel like that's one thing that we're overlooking. Obviously we got the rookie quarterback. We added some really good defensive coordinators and some players on defense, and we added some offense pieces and everything. But I think that's one thing that we are overlooking is the kicking game aspect of this. So I do think competition will be brought in, and they'll get plenty of opportunities to do so. But we'll see how it goes down the line. But I would not be surprised if they brought in other competition, because I think at this point you have to.
Yeah, I think Ramiz Ahmed sounds like such a sick name for like a very lyrical rapper that's kind of underground, but like the real hip hop fans know that he's super lyrical and they place him higher than the others on the all time list. It's like Ramiz Ahmed though, pretty good, pretty good.
Pretty good, pretty good.
Bars.
Yeah. Now let's go to our next question. This one was submitted on Twitter by our guy Tony Franchise. Reed, what was the first Washington jersey you had, your favorite, and the weirdest that you own? For me, it's Mark Rippon. His favorite is Sean Taylor, his authentic Sean Taylor. And the weirdest is Deion Sanders and Donovan McNabb.
Yeah, I was about to say my weirdest is definitely a knockoff Donovan McNabb jersey that I got from a store at the beach one year. I was so pumped on McNabb. I was like, he's gonna be so good. He's in Campbell's commercials. He's gonna be so sick. He's got fat face.
Couldn't hit a hitch
And,
route.
yeah, couldn't do anything pretty much. The first one that I had was a LeVar Arrington jersey. The first one that was mine. I had like hand-me-downs for my brother and stuff, but I got a LeVar Arrington jersey. That was sick because the guy was so good for a long time. My favorite one, though, was my new Terry jersey, my new Commanders Terry jersey, just because, love Terry. Gotta love Terry. But also my rookie Sean Taylor jersey, that's right there.
The first jersey I ever got, my old man got it for me. I think he went to a conference, something of the sort, but it was LeVar Arrington, a white one. My weirdest one is my mom got a Washington Redskins jersey, converted it, and it says the Podfather on the back, and she got the Burgundy zone on the front there. So that's probably the weirdest that I own. Like it's not something I'm gonna wear out, but it is nice that she got it for me for my birthday. It was really cool.
Yeah, that's tight. You should wear
and
that
my
everywhere.
favorite is by far the Salute to Service Terry McLaurin camo green jersey. It's just so clean and beautiful. But now we are joined by our next guest, Mr. Corey Sanchez. What's up, brother? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to see Reed on here. Every time I'm on here with you, he's not on here. So I thought that
You know what, Corey? I gotta go.
I got a restraining order against. He got a restraining order against me or something.
I did.
So I'm like,
I said this guy laughs a little too loud when I get a little bit wild.
That's what I heard about there. I just thought it was too much of me and Hall on here.
That's what I'm saying.
No, what? Why would you say that? That's not true. That's not true. But look.
Don't forget about me, Corey. I'm 2%.
That's Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, you got that orange glow about you with the light now, Kyle. So
Kyle, are you missing a piece of your ear?
Yeah,
I'm 2%, man.
The stigmata happened last night.
You guys always leave me
Trump
out.
got a bullet to the ear.
Don't
Kyle
forget
all
about
of a
the
sudden started getting an
2%ers.
ear bleed. He said, "What the hell is that?" It was stigmata. Yeah. Stigmar-a-lago.
Hall, you want to answer this one before Corey does?
Yeah. First one, I probably was like a knockoff, like Walmart jersey of like LeVar Arrington or something like that when I was in like elementary school or something like that in middle school. Weirdest one, I'd say the Antonio Gibson Washington football team jersey because WFT was a weird time and I know it's a clean jersey, I like it, but WFT was a weird time in Washington Redskins Commanders history. And my favorite one, probably the Sean Taylor, but I'd have to say it's probably going to be that Jayden Daniels jersey I'm about to order in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
There you go. It's going to be here by Christmas. Corey, the question was submitted by Tony Franchise. Was your first jersey that you got, your weirdest and your favorite?
See, I'm not a jersey person, so I have to go way back in the Rolodex. I think my first one was it a Terry Allen 21 jersey? I think that might have been my first. It might have been my first one as a kid. And then I don't know if y'all remember. I guess the weirdest one was because he didn't sign with the Players Association. It was LeVar Arrington. I got one because for a long time it was out. So that's a weird one.
He couldn't be in Madden and stuff. I remember that. Left outside linebacker number 56. Yeah.
He was. What they said. Left outside linebacker.
Yeah. LOLD number 56. Yeah.
I said, who's Loba?
Yeah. Who's old 56? Is that one of Elon Musk's kids? Lob number 56.
He's hitting them out of the park today. He really is hitting them out of the park.
It's what I do.
And I guess my favorite one is I've got the little. You remember how they used to do the paint print? I've got a Daryl Green, actually, like right back here, a Daryl Green 28 jersey in the 75th anniversary.
Hey, I have one too.
Those 75th anniversary jerseys,
70th,
those uniforms
yeah.
are so nice.
Yeah.
They're so clean.
So
Yep.
clean. I will always remember the one of my favorite jerseys. I always picked it in Madden was the yellow helmet with the red R, and then the white jerseys with the burgundy 2 stripes on the sleeves.
The Jason Campbell Jones.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
clean, dude. Such a great look. But now, Corey, this next question, this one was submitted by Just Your Average Fly Guy. He said, I asked this question on a timeline a few weeks ago, and I'm curious what Reed's opinion, yours, and Hall's are. When it comes to success in 2024, what does it look like to each of you? Is it wins and losses? Is it coaching? Is it competency on the field? What would it take for each of you to consider 2024 a success on the field?
You play to win the game, right? That's the easiest answer. It's measured in wins and losses, but I think as a team that's rebuilding, right, it's the quality of games. Let's just be honest with you. We got the doors blown off of us for 2 straight months. We were everybody's ex-spouse or whatever, just coming in there, taking every punch and everything in the face. So I need to see a better quality product. Now, if we lose, but we swing kind of like the Detroit Lions did a couple years ago, right? You knew this team, you were going to be wore out after that. That's what I need to see is that, the weakness is going out of the team. So we might not win everything, but if there's games we look back and say, like, if we had one play that went our way, we could have won this game, not like getting blown out 35-10 down the stretch every game. So outside of wins and losses, I would say it's got to be the effort and to say that, we have hope. Reinstill hope, like the gold pants. Reinstill hope. That's why I need gold pants hope, y'all.
Gold pants hope the
Don't get me started.
vibes.
Ooh.
Now
Yes.
let's skip the Whitey for this question. So Hall, if you want to answer it.
What?
Yeah. Screw the whiteys. No, I'm just joking, guys.
Whoa.
Just joking. They're gonna kill me in the YouTube
You want to talk
comments.
That
skin?
doesn't offend me at all. 2%.
YouTube, they're gonna kill me on the YouTube comments.
No, they're not. No, they're not. Trust me.
I know they're gonna be like, yeah,
Yeah, because I
murder.
agree with them. I think I agree with you. in that.
Success this year. Well,
That's what the W stands for.
part of it is
Yeah.
they get to like 8 wins because that'll line my pockets really nicely because I took an alt win total on FanDuel. But I would say that you just see by the end of the year you see that Jayden Daniels is the guy that we can definitely put some pieces around, build a team around, and he's the guy going forward for at least the next I guess it would be 4 years at that point through his rookie contract. And I would say also, like Corey said, not getting blown out, not getting like you can basically see the team giving up type things. Like I want to see them, like you said, kind of Detroit Lions, like biting kneecap style, where they're going to go out every week, they're going to fight, they're going to give you 100% effort every down in, down out, quarter in, quarter out. And like you said, they're going to walk away being like, man, like that team's coming. Like next year, that's going to be a team to like really like deal with. So I would say not really like wins total because, I mean, I would like to win some money. That'd be tight. But I would just say basically by week 18, we can look back and say this season was a success because we know for sure Jayden Daniels is that dude. And going into 2025, the offseason is going to be
My man.
put them pieces around him.
For me, Fly Guy, I've said this before. I think it's just the team playing as one, and I think that you guys already talking about the Lions is a great example. Because when you see them play the game, they are like even on defense, you kind of like could just see it in your head how they all typically do just play together and they play fundamental, great football. You don't see guys fighting on the sidelines, questioning the coaching staff. They're just all playing there for Dan Campbell. It's one of the reasons why Dan Campbell is called a great leader. And so, in my personal opinion, for this season to be a success, I'd like to see that gradual progression of this football team into being one. I think for way too long we've seen a lot of individual stats and successes in that regard. I think it's time for the team to be able to gel together and actually fighting for the same similar goal, so to speak. So for me, it's seeing that the team is one. They're all on the same level, playing with the same type of intensity, arriving violently, and regardless of where you are. I want to see Ramiz Ahmed actually going out there and laying some people out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to see everybody biting kneecaps out there. And that's the sort of thing I want to be able to see, is that this team is all one, playing for the same exact thing. What about you, Whitey?
Well, for 2024 to be considered a success, we got to make sure that the election isn't stolen from the good guys. That's number one. I'm just kidding. No, now just like you guys talked about, it's not even necessarily like, obviously you want to measure it by wins and losses, but you just, like you guys talked about, you just want to be a team that other teams don't want to play right now, and you want to see flashes from Jayden Daniels. You want to see him hold it down and show why he was the Heisman Trophy winner, why he was the male college athlete player of the year, why he was drafted number 2 overall, why he is that guy, why Brandon Ayuk wants to play with him so bad. You know what I'm saying? So you want to see those flashes, and maybe it won't translate year one. I mean, this is a brand new team. All the pieces are new. They don't have a lot of experience together, but as long as they're going out there and they're punching people in the face, then I'll be okay with that down the line. Of course, when it happens, when we lose, like if we're losing every game during the season, I'm like, this is such bullshit. Fire everybody, get them on. But like in hindsight, we'll look back and be like, that's good. That's good.
Also, sidebar: what side is the good guys, Reed?
There you go. That's a good question.
Damn, you got Reed shutting up.
No, he didn't shut me up. I'll tell you right now who the good guys is. The good guys are the people who, the good guys is, never mind. Yeah, no, I don't know. No, I don't know. I don't even vote. I don't know. I just think it's funny.
Oh, this next question from the Discord is from Yam Sensei. In light of the recent Receivers show on Netflix, which is phenomenal, by the way, I caught the first episode today, and George Kittle, when he came off the bench and screamed at the one coach, like he yelled at him from behind, the dude was like, that dude was shook. I was dying laughing. But his question is, in the Receivers show on Netflix, how do you see Jayden Daniels and Cliff combined working in a way to not only help our receivers be successful, but also remain healthy and free of taking bad hits like we saw?
Well, I would say that the bad hits thing, that's going to be more on like Jayden Daniels, like ball placement, accuracy, and whatnot, and him reading the defense and kind of anticipating, like, okay, I can't throw him into this defender because he's going to take his head off, and let me make a back shoulder throw to kind of throw him out the way of the receiver or the defender. So that part will be on Jayden Daniels. But as far as Cliff Kingsbury and Jayden Daniels working together to get our receivers in good spots, everyone talks about how Cliff Kingsbury is like a real coach's, like a real player's coach, where he listens to the quarterback's input. He does what the quarterback likes to do. And I would assume that goes to everyone on the offense, the receivers as well. And in Arizona, they use like the quick game, the screen game a lot. And I could definitely see him using Terry McLaurin like that, because, I mean, if you go back to even Terry McLaurin in high school, I'm pretty sure his team at high school ran a triple option. So he's used to running the ball, setting up blockers, using his blocks, anticipating the blocks in front of him. He's a tough, aggressive runner anyway, so he's breaking tackles all the time. So I can definitely see him, even Dotson as well. He's a pretty good yak guy when he gets the ball in his hands in space. So I would say that just putting them in space, spreading the field out, kind of going that up-tempo quick pace, and just doing whatever Jayden Daniels likes, getting his input and getting Terry, Jahan, and all those guys' input, and just kind of mixing it together and making a big collaboration, and hopefully it'll be a successful offense.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I do think the running game goes a lot into it with Cliff and Jayden, and keeping the defense guessing at all times. That would make things a lot easier for the receivers when they're able to sit back in that cover zone and be able to come up and make those hits. That's when they can really get violent in a sense. But if they're constantly having to look in the backfield, that's when you can start throwing over their head. What do you think, Reed?
I think Terry McLaurin is pretty sick.
All right, what about you, Corey?
Don't throw the ball 65 times in a game, and don't neglect it. Don't be a troll version of Charles Barkley and think you can call offensive plays. That'd probably be good. But no, I mean, for Frankenberry and Jayden to be successful, I think it's good that Cliff doesn't have to work. This is his first time. He's just worrying about the offense in over 10 years of being a coach, right? Because he was the analyst last year, so he really wasn't doing anything as an assistant. He's head coach of the Cardinals. He's head coach at Texas Tech. So 2012, I think, is the last time he was just worried about the offensive side of the ball. So I think that's going to be good. And I kind of counter it and say people like Terry McLaurin need to be working with the quarterback, kind of like in receivers, like Devontae Adams is kind of going up there encouraging Aiden O'Connell. I'm on episode 6, I think. So like when Aiden O'Connell got in there, he's kind of going over there and talking to him and everything. So I think he's got to be involved in that way. And as long as they're communicating and not getting set up and exposed so they can take all these hits, I think it's going to be good. But yeah, just don't drown your receivers with passes. You got to have the run to set up the pass. So, but I think they can work like that. And Terry's worked with chaos all throughout his career. So if he can finally get something organized, I think it's going to be good. And definitely, I think it's going to be better for Jahan. Y'all Jahan haters, y'all going to sit there in the corner this year and have a Coke and smile. Or just, and I don't care what spreadsheets say on Twitter, but he's going to do something good. That let me stop.
Yeah, I'm old enough to remember when a lot of people here, fans of the team, wanted to offer Jimmy Garoppolo a hefty contract when he was leaving 49ers, and I thought that was funny back then. I still think it's funny now. Now, the next question we have, Corey, this is from Deluxe in the Discord. If you could hop in the DeLorean and go back to the beginning of the offseason, what advice would you give yourself?
Don't get diabetes. Oh, okay. So are we talking
advice,
about?
though.
Yeah, that's it. Like that's what I'm telling myself personally. But love the weight loss from it.
Hell yeah.
Temper expectations. Like enjoy the ride. Like enjoy this. Enjoy the ability to rebuild. And there's going to be misses. This is not a perfect. It's not a perfect science. There's going to be a lot of patience. Like I mean, we remember draft night, right? People were killing Adam Peters in the second night because of they didn't draft an offensive line or something. Maybe we look at this 3 years later down the road, and it's like, heck, that actually worked, and all those other guys were scrubs. So I think it's an imperfect science. We got to figure it out. Don't have too much hope in Ben Johnson because he let you down, right? So everything, sometimes the stuff that you expect isn't the things that you want at the end of the day. I remember in hockey, right? I wanted Peter Laviolette to be the coach of the Capitals for years. And what did he do? He wet the bed. So, yeah, temper expectations, stay off the sugar, and we'll be good and gear up. So, that's what I tell myself. And, I think we're talking personally to ourselves, right? Is that what Deluxe is saying?
Yes, basically, yes. And
okay, gotcha. Yeah.
I know Reed's would be don't get the surgery done. For me personally, my advice to myself early on in the offseason would be to trust your eyes in a serious note because when I first did the quarterback breakdowns in like January, February, Jayden Daniels was number 2 on my list. And, I was very against Drake May, but then I overthought things about the size, the injury concerns, which kind of bled into, me thinking Drake May on the draft night was possibly the pick. But to me, the early on would be just trust your eyes and what you're seeing for me personally. What about you, Reed?
Mine would probably be don't trick Kyle into sleeping with that guy. That wasn't fun. No, I was super low on Dan Quinn. Like J-Mo chill. I didn't want Dan Quinn at all. Like I was like, if we hire Dan Quinn, I'm gonna be so pissed. And it's sometimes a retread isn't a bad thing. And obviously just let it play out. Let the football people do what the football people do. They can bring people in here. They know more than all of us, and they can bring in the right person. And Dan Quinn, Dan Quinn's cool as hell. Everybody seems to like Dan Quinn. I love that. I love that we have a players coach that, goes out there with and he's on the same page with Adam Peters. So I would just tell myself to chill out. Dan Quinn's the man. The guy looks like Stone Cold Steve Austin. He's cool. He still led Atlanta to a Super Bowl. And, sometimes coaches, they just need a second chance somewhere and they can get things done. So.
Yeah, Halls would be to not open the refrigerator. What about you, bud?
That would definitely be part of the answer.
Why? Because you found that human head in it that one time and then had to call the police on you?
No, because I like to pee in them.
No, because when he gets wasted, dude, for some reason he thinks the refrigerator is the bathroom. It's like it's happened to him twice.
Really?
Yeah,
I like to pee on ketchup bottles. I don't know.
So
It's weird.
how do you go about
Um,
cleaning that? I've always
he
how does
doesn't.
that work?
I
Is
don't
that
think
like?
I don't think they
I
do
clean it
either.
up.
Is
I
it
I
like
feel
a
like
is
this
it
is a
sometimes.
Chappelle show R. Kelly skit
yeah,
happening right here.
yeah.
Just
I would tell myself put every dollar that you own on them drafting Jayden Daniels because I'd be rich.
Yeah, that's true.
I would say kind of like Reed said, don't have a such an immediate reaction to the breaking news or this person being hired or this or that. Just kind of take a deep breath, take a step back, look at it from like the 30-foot view of things, and then make your opinion and your evaluation. Because, like Reed said, everyone was like, "Dan Quinn, like, bro, really?" Like, after we all got on the Ben Johnson fucking the crack juice. So, I would say, yeah, just trust the process, kind of like Josh Harris style. Trust the process and don't overreact to things. Let it breathe for a minute, then make your reaction.
Nobody wanted that scared little boy anyway. Ain't that right,
And
Reed?
don't pee in
That's
refrigerators.
right.
Yeah. Now
Hell
the
yeah.
next
Who,
question
Ben
we have.
Johnson? I don't want him. I don't like him.
I didn't
He
never
rubbed me
wanted him
wrong.
in
He
the
might
first
be a
place.
serial killer too.
This next question from Big Tony Shivers Hall: which celebrity Commanders fan would you most want to watch a game with? KD, Matthew McConaughey, or Dale Earnhardt Jr.? I'll just say you don't have to pick from these three in particular, but
Yeah, I would probably say KD just because I feel like I'd be like, yo, let me see your burner account real quick. Let me see what you're tweeting out to these people. And I just feel like I'd get a good laugh throughout the whole game because he'd be frying people on Twitter on his burner.
all right, I like it. If I
And he's
could,
from Mocha, so I'd
if
be
I
like,
didn't have to pick from one of these, honestly, I would say Scott Van Pelt. Just being one of the celebrity fans, I just really like Scott Van Pelt. I feel like watching a game with him would be a lot of fun. But obviously, KD is another one. But I think I'll have to go with Dale Earnhardt Jr. I think that he probably is funny, just given the Southern accent and everything. Like, what that man? Like that would be hysterical just to watch a game with somebody with a Southern accent. What about you, Reed?
First of all, I didn't know Josh Brolin is apparently a Commanders fan. Who knew? But I would pick McConaughey. Do you know how fun it would be to hear that guy talk? That dude is he's so unintentionally funny. He always seems so wise. He's always doing weird stuff. He's always
I picked
yeah,
Dan Snyder.
yeah,
I'd watch a
no.
game with him.
yeah, he's a
Jeez.
nice guy. Yeah.
Now we're gonna get canceled. What about you, Corey?
Huh. Good one. I guess you, Kyle. I'd like to watch a football game with you.
An
Yeah.
E-lister.
We're talking,
We-
we're talking
yeah,
about
there you
somebody
go.
who has
No,
the best in the
celebrities.
world. Yeah.
Let me see. No, let me stop. No, that's it. That's just payback. I'll go out of the realm. I'll stay in sports. You know what, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Yeah, I like Dale Earnhardt Jr. That just I feel like he'd have a good cheap beer selection, and we probably won't remember anything
Busch Light.
about the game.
Yeah.
And we get a limo to get us out of there in time. So yeah, Dale Earnhardt
Would
Jr.
he be
Yeah.
would he be driving that limo?
Uh,
Because you definitely get
sure,
on
it's
time
his
if he was
world, man.
driving.
It's his world. I'm
Yeah.
just a squirrel trying to get a nut. So that's about it.
Just like Reed. Now the next question we have is from
Don't
Jeff
be
Miles.
disgusting.
Corey, he says, I'd love to act like everything is good with Jayden Daniels because I'm actually really, really excited to see what he can do. But in reality, every quarterback in history has a weakness. Even Tom Brady was weak at being mobile. Josh Allen has had bad decision making, and Rodgers has had maturity problems. Besides staying healthy, what weakness could you see JD having? Note, this is weakness, may not mean that he's bad.
His mama. No, let me stop. That's that.
good.
No, I love
No,
Miss
she's the
Jackson.
same. She's the
I
same.
love Miss Jackson. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson.
Yeah.
I'm for
you for
real
real?
about this one. Got it. I guess the argument was that he seemed like he didn't read the field as well, and he held on to the ball. He had that run first mentality, which that's been squashed a little bit. But I think at the next level, where the defenses are so complex, I hope he doesn't lean on his legs too much. We saw that with one Robert Griffin III, and we saw what happened to him. We want him around. We want him to be dynamic for 10 years, not 10 games. So I think just him holding on to the ball and relying on his legs a little too much. I think that would probably be his weakness. But you know what? Hey, if it's not, okay, let's rock and roll with it. But yeah, and I love you, Miss Jackson. Don't forget that.
My man. What about you, Reed?
The I mean, after when he was in college, his accurate, obviously deep ball accuracy, some of the best you'll see, fantastic. But he did struggle at times in the intermediate and in short game, just routine stuff. But that's stuff that's easily fixable. And
Yep.
his arm strength didn't have as much zip behind the ball as somebody like Drake may. But I mean, arm strength is a little bit overrated. I mean, you look at guys all over the NFL that don't have the strongest arms and they get it done. So that, and I mean, obviously coupled like with the big shots that he takes not getting down, those are things that you really got to look out for because they can cause injury concerns. And I mean, Kyle, you know all about how taking back shots like that can just really derail your career and what you're trying to do because it hurts. I would imagine. Wouldn't know, but I would imagine. So him just being so thin, that's something he's definitely got to watch out for.
I think it's rude that Hall just laughs every time you make those sort of jokes, and it's just messed up. For me, the
It's not
weakness.
I think it was both
Kyle.
ways.
I
It's
think
because it's true.
It goes
Like
both
Kyle.
ways. Like Reed, get it?
I said just like Kyle first before you said that, so I got to the
Oh.
punchline first.
for
Yeah,
me the
sorry.
weakness. The weakness for JD, I'll say, I don't mean this by any disrespect or anything like that, but I'll just say in trust with his teammates and the scheme that he does have.
So disrespectful.
When you're at this sort of level and you're getting the number 2 overall pick, you're getting these awards, sometimes it could get to your head. And, we've seen him giving the practice footage to Brandon Ayuk, and we all know that he wants Brandon Ayuk here. But we also want him to embrace his new teammates as his family as well, and trusting them that they're going to make the play and not trying to do everything himself, given the kind of stage that he has been put in front of him. I don't think that he is that sort of player whatsoever, but if you ask me to name a possible weakness, I'll say that, in the sense that maybe he is not going to trust his teammates as much as he possibly should, sort of in an RG3 kind of way and throwing guys under the bus and everything like that. I don't think that he's capable of that, but just saying if I had to pick one, that would be one that I would be concerned with that could possibly rear its ugly head given the circumstances of the accolades of where he was selected and what has been said and provided here in Washington.
I would say just being smarter in the open field. If he does decide to take off and run and get outside the pocket and scramble and whatnot, just being smarter in the open field, knowing when to get out of bounds, knowing when to slide, knowing when to not take a hit by a 260-pound linebacker coming full speed at you. So I would say that's probably a big one for me. And then according to Joe, NFL football, he needs to get better doing whiteboard work because apparently he doesn't know how to do that.
It's so funny. Every NFL player and former NFL player came out and was like, you do know that he's literally just saying back words to them, correct? Like this has nothing to do with his understanding of anything because he doesn't know their playbook. He's literally just reciting words back to them, and that's not really that big of a deal. And by all accounts, Jayden Daniels has crushed all meetings, and he knew our playbook before the vets or before anybody even got there, and he was showing people what's going on. So that should be worried. Giants fans are just salty that they have to stick with Daniel
not
Jones
good at
for another
whiteboard
year.
work, man.
He was
It
just
is what it is.
captivated by that bald
He's
head.
not going to be
dude.
successful because he can't do whiteboard work.
Yeah. So just ask him to do it on a chalkboard. It'll be fine.
Get a blackboard. Get a blackboard, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
wasn't thinking
Black-
that, but
yeah,
nice to see
blackboard
that's what
work.
you were thinking. Correct. Yeah.
That's a good line of thinking there, Corey. Outside the box. I like it. Last question of the show, boys, from Tim Towner Hall. What are your thoughts on an 18-game season with 2 bye weeks? Joe Burrow's pitch for the perfect 18-game NFL schedule would be 2 bye weeks in the Pro Bowl during a league-wide Week 13 bye.
I say we kick Roger Goodell out and Joe Burrow becomes the first player / commissioner of the NFL.
He's so
Smart. I would love it. I mean, who doesn't love more football? I would hate it for the players because obviously that's more abuse on their bodies and whatnot. I mean, it's more money for them also. Actually, someone broke it down. It's not more money. But it'd be more abuse on their body. But as a fan and as someone that loves football, 18-game season, would love it. Playoffs would go like farther into the, I guess, February or whatever it is. Super Bowl will be later. Love it. Joe Burrow for president.
I do like the 18-game schedule. I've said this for a while. I don't think the Pro Bowl should be during the season. It should be afterwards. And honestly, you should do away with the Pro Bowl because at this point, it's just we just do it to see our guys in a jersey. But I do think the skills challenge should replace the Pro Bowl. That way, you do it at the end of the season. You don't have to worry about it. But I do think that the bye weeks should be before a Thursday night football game. And the reason for that is having the guys play a Sunday night game that we've seen Washington do the week before having a Thursday night game, basically only having 3 days rest. I think that second bye week can be used like a chess piece in order to give you more rest time ahead of that Thursday night game, so that way guys are actually ready to go and suited up and actually healthy for that Thursday night game, because the product on the field is really suffering on those Thursday night games, and it's evident at this point, and the guys have said a lot about that. So for me personally, I like Joe Burrow's enthusiasm about it. I just would like to make some adjustments there. I don't think the Pro Bowl should be anywhere near in the NFL season. Reed?
I think Joe Burrow's so cool. Anything he says, I agree with, which is also a very slippery slope because he could be a bad guy. But for this type of stuff, I say, Joe Burrow, you're so cool. Whatever you say, is that what you want to do? That's what I want to do too, then, because you're so cool.
Right, sure, man. What about you, Corey?
I want to be his Stevie Janowski.
I'd like 18 game schedule, to be honest with you. I don't like the odd number of games we play. They
weird.
play. Let's get it back to an even record. I want to see 500 back on records again, or at or above it, right? I'm kind of with you, Kyle. Do away with the Pro Bowl, and do a skills challenge. I mean, heck, if you want to do the skills challenge, the week of the Super Bowl, go ahead and do it, because I just feel like that's going to drop off after the Super Bowl anyway, with all that hype leading up to it. I really don't give a damn about you all who get President's Day off, because I don't get that off technically until the end of the year.
Yeah,
So
me
I
either.
still have to go to work
Wow.
the next day. So y'all can play in traffic and enjoy your. Yeah, you need to go to work, you bums. But
Yeah.
I like the 18 game season. The week 13 bye. I don't know, because and then even him putting the Pro Bowl in there, kind of like the question of what coaches are going to, if you're in the playoff hunt, why would you want to send your players
Right.
out there to the Pro Bowl?
Right.
Yeah,
And
nobody
they're
would
already
play.
paranoid as it is. I mean, NBA, you can have some recovery time, but yeah, I just don't like the idea of that. And it's okay to let things die. It's okay to take something off life support if it's not working anymore. It's time to take Aunt Gertie off the plug and
don't
just
make
Yep,
the
I was
pie
going to
joke.
say, we did that to my grandma. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
That's good. Hey,
And my
Reed,
grandma.
Stevie Janowski, is that the Kenny Power sidekick?
Yeah.
I love that guy. Dude, that's my favorite episode
Stevie.
when he's down in Mexico and he has that girlfriend of his. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
He's the
And Stevie,
best.
yeah, though, dude, that's so funny. She pulls up and Kenny's been using the name Steve, when he's down there to hide his identity. And she pulls up and they're all walking all drunk and she's like, Steve. And then Stevie turns to her and he's like, hey, what's up? And she's like, where have you been? Talking to Kenny clearly. And he's like, oh, I just got down here. And he's like, she's talking to me, dumbass. And then he's like, I just picked the name Stevie because I thought it was the name of a guy who doesn't have anything going on in life. And then it cuts to Stevie and he's like puking on himself. It's so funny.
All right, everybody, that's going to wrap us up for this episode. Corey, thank you. I can't thank you enough. I know that all these sleepless nights and your beautiful son that you have, man, I
Yeah.
always love seeing those pictures of you and little Corey out there. But before we get out of here, just like to plug your show, brother, and your social media handle.
Yeah, on the Warpath on YouTube, at Sanchez 405 on all social medias, and shout out to the little Z guy. Yeah.
My man, they awesome as hell. All right, everybody, we will see you guys next week. Hopefully, Reed doesn't make his way up to Butler, Pennsylvania again, because obviously he got out of there real nice and easy. All right,
The
everybody,
hell?
we will see
What
you
the
guys
hell?
next Sunday.
hell
I'm
is that?
Kyle.
I'm Hall.
I don't know who I am after that comment from Kyle. I'm not too sure anymore.
Oh, come on.
I'm just kidding.
All right, everybody, we'll see you next Sunday. Have a great week. Washington football. Woo! What's up, everyone? This is Kyle from the Burgundy Zone. We are releasing our own merch to support the show. If you want to rock the Burgundy Zone logo or you want to see Reed's face on your shirt, we got it. We're starting with t-shirts, hoodies, and zip-up. So if you're a fan of the show, make sure you snag one before they are gone. Check out the link in our bio on Instagram, or you can find the link in the description of the video. Thanks again for all your support. Until next time.